Chapter 2. Something hunting. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying what happened over and over until I couldn't tell anymore what I'd actually seen and what my brain had filled in afterward. The flames. The men with their strange weapons. The thing in the shadows that might have been an animal or might have been something else entirely. The man with the golden eyes. My hands. I kept looking at them in the dark, turning them over, checking for marks that weren't there anymore. Had they really been on fire? Or had it been some kind of hallucination, stress or exhaustion or something in the air at the logging yard making me see things that weren't real? But I could still feel it. The heat, the way it had surged up from somewhere deep in my chest and spread outward like I was burning from the inside out, that part felt real. Around 5 in the morning I gave up on sleep and took a shower, standing under water as hot as I could stand it, trying to wash away the metallic smell that seemed to cling to my skin. Smoke and rust and something sharper underneath, like ozone after lightning. I scrubbed until my skin was red, but the smell didn't go away. Or maybe it was never there to begin with. Maybe I was losing my mind. Susan knocked on my door at 6:30 to make sure I was awake for school. I told her I was fine, got dressed, ate the toast she'd made even though I wasn't hungry. She kept glancing at me like she wanted to ask if something was wrong. But she didn't. Foster parents learn not to push too hard. Kids like me shut down when you push. I walked to school instead of letting her drive me. I needed the air, needed to move, needed to feel like I had some control over where I was going. The morning was cold and gray, the kind of weather that makes everything look washed out and tired. Fog hung low between the trees, and I could hear water dripping from the branches even though it wasn't raining. The sound followed me all the way down Pinewood Drive and onto the main road. I kept checking behind me. I don't know what I expected to see. The man with the golden eyes, maybe, or the hunters from the logging yard, or something worse. But there was nothing. Just empty street and fog and the distant sound of a truck engine somewhere on the other side of town. By the time I reached the school, my hands were shaking. I made it through first period without anyone talking to me, which was fine. English. We were reading something about the American dream and disillusionment, and the teacher, Mr. Brennan, older guy with a gray beard, spent most of the class talking about symbolism while half the students stared at their phones under their desks. I sat in the back and tried to focus on the words in the book, but they kept blurring together. My head felt too full, too loud, like there were a dozen conversations happening inside my skull all at once. Second period was worse. Gym class. I'd been dreading it since I saw it on my schedule yesterday. I hate gym. Not because I'm bad at it. I'm not, actually, which is part of the problem. I'm faster than I should be, stronger than I look, and I've learned the hard way that standing out in gym class is a good way to make people notice you. And I don't want to be noticed. But apparently that ship had already sailed. The gym teacher, Coach Hendricks, a woman in her 40s with the kind of build that suggested she could still outrun most of her students, had us doing sparring drills. Not full contact, just controlled grappling. The kind of thing that's supposed to teach you balance and leverage and how to fall without breaking something. She paired me with Rowan Haver. He smiled when she called our names, that same easy confidence I'd seen in the cafeteria yesterday, and gestured for me to follow him to one of the mats spread out across the gym floor. "Don't worry," he said as we took our positions. "I'll go easy on you." He didn't. The first time he grabbed me, I felt it in my bones. Not pain, exactly, but pressure, like he was testing how much force I could take before I buckled. His grip on my wrist was tight enough to leave marks, and when he twisted I had to move with it or risk something snapping. I broke free and reset, breathing hard. "Good," he said. Again. We went again. This time he came at me faster, and I barely had time to react before he had me in a hold that should have put me on the ground. But something in my body moved before my brain caught up. Some instinct I didn't know I had, and I shifted my weight and slipped out of his grip like water. Rowan's eyes narrowed. "Interesting," he said. We reset again, and this time there was no pretense of going easy. He came at me like he was trying to prove something, and I responded the same way, and suddenly we weren't sparring anymore. We were fighting. Not violently, not out of control, but there was an edge to it, a sharpness that made my pulse spike and my vision narrow until all I could see was him. He was strong. Stronger than he should have been for someone his size. And fast. Every time I thought I had an opening, he was already moving to counter it, like he could read my intentions before I acted on them. But I was faster. I didn't mean to be. I didn't even realize it was happening until I had him pinned, my forearm across his chest, his back against the mat. We were both breathing hard, and for a second neither of us moved. Then Rowan smiled. "You're full of surprises," he said quietly. Quiet enough that I don't think anyone else heard. Coach Hendricks blew her whistle, and we broke apart. I stood up, my hands still shaking, and tried to look like I hadn't just done something I didn't understand. Rowan clapped me on the shoulder as we walked back to the edge of the mat. "You've done this before." "Done what?" "Trained, fought, Something. He was still smiling, but his eyes were sharp, watching me the way a predator watches something it's not sure about yet. You move like someone who knows what they're doing. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just shrugged. Where'd you learn? He asked. Around. He laughed, but it didn't sound entirely friendly. You're going to have to do better than that if you want to fit in here. I'm not trying to fit in. Yeah, he said, still watching me. I can tell. Lunch was worse than gym. I grabbed a tray and found the same table I'd sat at yesterday, hoping I could eat in peace and maybe figure out what the hell was happening to me. But before I'd taken 2 bites, Maria Sola slid into the seat across from me. She didn't say anything at first. Just sat there with her notebook open in front of her, writing something in that tiny handwriting I couldn't read. I tried to ignore her, but it's hard to ignore someone when they're sitting 2 feet away and clearly waiting for you to acknowledge them. Finally, I looked up. Can I help you? She stopped writing and met my eyes. Hers were dark, almost black, and they had this intensity that made me feel like she was looking through me instead of at me. You smell like smoke, she said. My stomach dropped. What? Smoke? She repeated. And something else. Metal, maybe, or ash. She tilted her head slightly, studying me. Were you near a fire recently? I set down my fork, trying to keep my hands steady. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. I don't. She leaned forward slightly, lowering her voice. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking. Why? Because people are talking. About what? About the logging yard. She glanced around the cafeteria, then back at me. About the noise last night. About the fire. I don't know anything about a fire, Kay. She didn't look like she believed me, but she didn't push. Instead, she went back to her notebook, flipping to a new page. If you did know something though, you should be careful who you tell. I don't. I know. She looked up again, and this time there was something almost like sympathy in her expression. But if you did, just be careful. Not everyone here is what they seem. Before I could ask what that meant, she stood up and walked away, leaving me sitting there with my half-eaten lunch and a growing sense that I was in way over my head. Calder found me after 6th period. I was at my locker, trying to remember which textbooks I actually needed for homework, when he appeared next to me with that same easy smile he'd had yesterday. Hey, he said. How's day 2 treating you? Fine, yeah? You settling in okay? I guess. He leaned against the locker next to mine, casual, like we were old friends. So I heard something weird this morning. I didn't look at him. Yeah? Yeah. Apparently there was some kind of disturbance at the old logging yard last night. Cops showed up and everything. My hands stilled on the textbook I was holding. Probably just poachers, Calder continued. People use that place to hunt sometimes, even though they're not supposed to. But still, weird, right? I guess. You didn't hear anything, did you? I mean, you're staying over on Pinewood, right? That's not too far from there. I didn't hear anything, huh? He was quiet for a second, and I could feel him watching me. So you didn't go for a walk or anything last night? After you got settled in? I closed my locker and turned to face him. Why are you asking? Just curious. He shrugged, but his eyes didn't leave mine. Small town, you know. People notice things. And you're new, so people are going to be extra curious about what you're up to. I'm not up to anything. I didn't say you were. He smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes this time. I'm just saying, if you did happen to be out there, you should probably be careful. The logging yard's not safe. Lots of rusty equipment, unstable structures. Easy to get hurt if you're not paying attention. I wasn't there. Good. He pushed off the locker and started to walk away, then paused and turned back. Oh, one more thing. If you did happen to see anything weird, like, I don't know, people with strange equipment or anything like that, you'd tell someone, right? Like the cops or a teacher or something? My throat felt tight. Why would I see something like that? You wouldn't. He was still smiling. I'm just saying, hypothetically. If you did. I didn't. Cool. He gave me a little salute and walked off down the hallway, leaving me standing there with my heart pounding and the metallic smell stronger than ever. He knew. I don't know how, but he knew. And the way he'd asked those questions, what direction I'd gone, whether I'd smelled smoke, whether I'd seen anyone with equipment, those weren't casual questions. Those were the kind of questions someone asks when they're trying to confirm something they already suspect. I grabbed my backpack and got out of there as fast as I could. The walk home felt longer than it should have. The fog had gotten thicker as the day went on, and by the time school let out it was dense enough that I could barely see 20 feet ahead. The streetlights were already on even though it was only 4 in the afternoon, casting weak yellow circles that didn't do much to cut through the gray. I took the same route I'd taken that morning, down the main road, past the diner and the gas station, then onto Pinewood Drive. But this time, something felt different. Wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Just a feeling, like the air pressure had changed or the temperature had dropped a few degrees. But the more I walked, the stronger it got. Someone was following me. I didn't turn around. Not yet. I just kept walking, listening. Faint, but there. Matching my pace, staying far enough back that I couldn't see who it was through the fog. I sped up. The footsteps sped up. I slowed down. The footsteps slowed down. My heart was hammering now, and that heat was starting to build in my chest again, the same heat from last night. I clenched my fists, trying to keep it under control, trying to stay calm. I reached the turnoff for Pinewood Drive and kept going straight instead, heading toward the forest road that ran along the edge of town. If someone was following me, I didn't want to lead them to Susan's house. And if I was wrong, if I was just being paranoid, then I'd loop back around and no one would know the difference. The forest road was narrower than the main road, barely wide enough for one car, with trees pressing close on both sides. The fog was even thicker here, and the only sound was my own breathing and the crunch of gravel under my boots. The footsteps behind me stopped. I stopped too, listening. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe. Something moved in the trees to my left. I spun around, and that's when I saw him. A man. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing dark clothing and a jacket that looked too heavy for the weather. His face was partially hidden by a hood, but I could see enough to know he wasn't from around here. Or if he was, I'd never seen him before. He was holding something in his right hand. Something metallic that caught the light. "Elijah Smith," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "You need to come with me. I don't know you." "That doesn't matter." He took a step forward, and I took a step back. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Yes," he said. "You are." He moved fast, faster than I expected, and suddenly he was right in front of me, reaching for my arm. I jerked back, but he was already grabbing me, his grip like iron around my wrist. And then something inside me snapped. The heat in my chest exploded outward, and I moved without thinking. I twisted out of his grip, brought my other hand up, and shoved him as hard as I could. He flew backward, not stumbled, not fell. Flew, like I'd hit him with a car instead of my hand. He slammed into a tree 10 feet away, and I heard the impact, a sickening crack that might have been the tree or might have been him. He slumped to the ground, gasping, and I stood there staring at my hands like they belonged to someone else. What the hell did I just do? The man groaned and started to push himself up, and I saw blood on his face, dark against his pale skin. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw something in his expression that wasn't cold calculation. Fear. He was afraid of me. He scrambled to his feet and ran, crashing through the underbrush and disappearing into the fog. I heard him for a few more seconds, and then nothing. I stood there shaking, my breath coming in short gasps, my hands still tingling with that same heat. I'd thrown him, across the road, into a tree, with one hand. That's not possible. That's not. I looked down and saw something on the ground where he'd been standing, the metallic thing he'd been holding. I crouched down and picked it up carefully, turning it over in my hands. It was heavy, made of some kind of dark metal I didn't recognize, with strange markings etched into the surface. There were hinges on one side and what looked like a locking mechanism on the other. It took me a second to realize what it was. A collar. But not for a dog. Not for anything small. The opening was huge, at least a foot in diameter, maybe more. And the metal was thick, reinforced, like it was designed to hold something that could break through anything weaker. Something powerful. Something dangerous. I turned it over again, and that's when I saw the label on the inside, stamped into the metal in small letters. Property of Iron Ring Containment Division. My blood went cold. They weren't hunting poachers at the logging yard. They were hunting me, and they knew exactly what I was.